Welcome to Impulse, powered by Rayhan Ventures, a podcast that puts different perspectives on all developments in tech and entrepreneurialism. Thank you, of course, as always, to our guests and, last but not least, you, our dear listeners. Today, I welcome Shiran Imladovsky from Tel Aviv. She is a social tech entrepreneur and will talk to us about how to use technology and AI to have a social impact. Amongst other things, she will also be sharing with us her experience on the project Listen to My Voice, a very moving social project. So, welcome, Sharam.
Thank you, and thank you for this great opportunity. Very excited to be here today.
It's a pleasure. So here a quick trigger warning to our listeners in case there's any social justice antagonists out there. We will be talking about ways to have a positive impact on society and also, supporting some minorities out there. And that will be the topic for today. And in that sense, Shiran, maybe you can quickly just introduce yourself to our audience.
Sure. So I'm a social tech entrepreneur. I'm leveraging generative AI for doing good. Actually, in the past few years, I combined my key passion. It's creativity, innovative technology, and humanity. I recognize the potential of generative AI to increase awareness, engagement, and create more effective and personalized content. And most importantly, foster empathy and offer human-like experiences. So today I'm leveraging those superpowers for doing good and improve and even save people's lives.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, I think it's a good example of a very purpose-driven existence. And, our organization, Rayhan Ventures, we also build companies and we also try to leverage technologies, and actually our positioning or our claim is that we enhance lives. So we also aim to have a positive impact in the areas that we focus on. And I think it's very admirable that you prioritize, let's say, the purpose now above everything else. Often, especially in tech, I think people are very much business driven. So how do you deal with that trade-off, or do you think there's a way to bring also, let's say, a successful business together with a strong sense of purpose?
I think it's very, very good questions. I think from my end, I always had my day job and another thing that I call it night job. It's like my hobby, do all the social activities. And today I'm lucky to bring this all together, but it's not that easy. It's not simple at all. However, after I came out with my campaign that I would love to elaborate later on about it. So I saw the impact also on the business side. Like the partners that I collaborate with, for example, gain a lot of positive exposure, for example. So today, company knows that involves social impact in their business on a regular basis. It can be very beneficial for them as well. And they can gain this amazing positive exposure that's also relevant to their employees, for example. It's increased engagement and the system working to having more new customers and investment, and so on. So I think here we can find a win-win for everyone. Here you can find the business model that allow you and allow me to keep doing my job and create social impact projects.
I mean, that's interesting. I think in the last years, for sure, also with the whole ESG discussion, I mean, we've realized that at least companies or organizations can no longer get away with doing bad things, put simply. And I think that is, maybe a bit of a shift in the tide, so to speak, so that in future, especially companies with a positive impact will actually be, the companies that people look up to, the companies that people want to work for. But I think it's still a long journey, and I think we're heading in the right direction. So we need more people like you, Shiran, also showing how a positive social impact can be achieved. Maybe, and you alluded to it. Do you want to share with us the one project, Listen to My Voice? Elaborate a bit on the background there and what you've been able to do.
Sure. So it's actually the starting point of my journey when I brought my two passions together. And I used to work in an innovation center for smart mobility. I had a dreamy job. I worked with the cutting edge technologies and also a multinational organization like Volvo, Honda, Hertz, and others. And one of the companies that I used to work with, one of the startups, was a company named DID that know how to animate video from one still image. And while working with DID, I met a domestic violence survivor that shared her brave story with the whole country. And I remember that I was amazed how she just, it's not just, it's very, very emotional and difficult, but by telling her story to the whole country, she dramatically increased awareness to domestic violence. And that got me thinking, what about the women that are not here with us anymore? And we cannot hear what they have to say. But what if we can? What do we tell us? What we as a society can learn? And then I thought, yes, we can. And the idea pumped into my head, and I thought we can bring those women to life. We can use generative AI technology and animate their image and let them tell their own story from their own mouths. And at that point, I wasn't sure if this idea is brilliant or totally insane. And it could be both, actually. So, sorry. So I called to the CEO of DID and also a friend of mine, a partner in the advertising firm. And luckily, they really loved the idea. And from that point, I know that I have a great idea and I can make it happen. So I decided to quit my job in the innovation center and put my all focus and effort in this campaign. So it took me 9 months to do it, to brought all relevant partners together. I had 28 partners total from different sectors, from the private sector, when they contribute with their technologies and also sponsor this project, and the NGOs that contribute their knowledge, the professional knowledge, and also connect me to the relevant families that lost their loved ones, and the government sector as well. It was part of the project and assist me to reach out to municipalities all over Israel.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very evocative, the whole topic. And like you said, I mean, it's maybe kind of fascinating in a positive way, but it can also quickly become a bit scary. How did you deal with the responsibility that, if you want to let people speak after they're not around anymore, that you really, really do them justice, that you represent them in a way that they would hopefully also want to be represented? How do you deal with that?
So this is a question I thought about it a lot, and I did a few things. First of all, we collaborate with the family very closely, and even their motivation and engagement, that's what makes this campaign to be very, very successful. We started with interviews of the family. We talked about their loved ones, and then we created the script together. And they also participated in the filming day. Also did some fine tuning to the actresses. It was very, very emotional day for everyone. And also we use, the services of a domestic violence expert with NGO, that support us all the way, and also a dedicated domestic violence expert who was part of the process, was part of the script, assist us when we talk with the families. So it was very, very important for us also, to be very authentic and also very professional.
Okay. Now, I think it's a kind of textbook example of how to do a project like this responsibly. What keeps you up at night? Do you ever think about what would happen if this kind of technology got into the wrong hands and people used it to misrepresent positions or even maybe spread untruth? How do you deal with that kind of downside, let's say, of such technology?
I think this is very, very important angle that we as a society and also as a regulation should put a lot of effort, a lot of thinking together. I'm also active in some consortium that combine multinational companies and also startups and also academia and so on. And we also have a lot of thinking and discussions about this topic. And we are building a kind of a global code for this. So this is very, very, very important.
Okay.
So this is the one end. In the other end, I'm saying this is a very, very powerful tool. We should be proactive and use it for doing good. We can do it. We all should do it. And this is my mission. There is the regulation and all this big organization that focus on the ethical AI and the responsibility AI. But my mission is a bit different, and I am a bit missionary about it. I really want people to use it for doing good.
Okay, Shiran, so can you also tell us a little bit about the impact of the Listen to My Voice project?
So this campaign was very, very successful in Israel. We had 10 million views in only 3 days. The engagement rate was very high, 5 times higher. And I think even more important and exciting for me, that almost half of the viewers were men that spent the same amount of time as women watching those videos. And if we want to create a real change, we need to bring all genders together. And last but not least, we save lives. While the campaign was running, we have 1,000 clicks on the hotline numbers and the risk assessment questionnaires. And also we got direct inquiries for women through our social media platform as Facebook and even Instagram.
Wow, that's impressive. I mean, those are amazing numbers, and really shows how this is not just let's say for our conscience, but that it also has a real positive impact. So look, let's take a minute maybe to listen to the outcome of the project.
In 2019, I was murdered by the man who was my husband, the killer, Eliran Malul. And today, after I lost my life, I call on you. Listen to my voice. If you are in a relationship or were in a relationship and he is jealous and obsessive towards you, if you are afraid of his reaction to parting from you, share with a close person and a domestic violence expert who will help you separate safely and return to your light. Listen to your gut feeling. Do it today. Listen to my voice. Listen to your voice.
Okay. Now, I think, defining the rules for the use of this new technology is as a global society, a very important discussion we need to have. And we definitely need to set up the standards that ensure that it's not misused. I'm sure there will always be cases where it is misused, but then we need to also, track that down and make sure that technology is not misused to spread untruths, for example. Maybe one more example of the project you did was you basically brought the former statesman Shimon back to life. So can you tell us a bit about that project, what you did, and maybe also a bit what the resonance was?
Sure. So here we collaborate with Peres Center for Innovation and Peace. They gave us an image of the former president, the beloved former president Shimon Peres, and also they gave us authentic audio of one of his speeches. And by click of a button, we use here DAD Studio, so everyone can do it. We just by click of a button, it took me like a few seconds. We collaborate a video of the former president Shimon Peres, sorry, talking about unity and democracy in Israel, and we present it in a big event in the Peres Center of Innovation and Peace. And his son, actually, Shem Peres, presented. And, it was very, very exciting and very emotional to everyone.
Great. Yeah, I was lucky to visit the Shimon Peres Center it's actually in Jaffa, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful
Yes.
site and also very, very compelling. Now you said that you did this with the click of a button. So you literally only needed a still image and a voice recording, and then obviously I guess you generated a script, or maybe it was a script that even Shimon Peres wrote. I don't know, and that's all you needed to be able to bring him back to it.
Yes, in that case, yes.
Okay, yeah, that's amazing. And is this DID Studio available to anyone at this point in time? Is this okay?
Yes.
Good. Well, then we'll share a link then when we post this podcast so that people can
definitely.
You also basically use this technology to educate people also about the Holocaust. So you really used it in an educational way, and I definitely think the potential for such technologies for use in education are mind-blowing, actually, and we're probably just scratching at the surface. But can you also share with our listeners a bit what you did there?
Sure. So one of my projects as part of commemorate the Holocaust is we kind of brought back to life 10 heroes that fought the Nazis in the Second World War as part of the Holocaust. And we took them straight from the history pages, and we let them to tell their own story, their own bravery, in their own mouths, from their own mouths, in their own words. We use the real and authentic quote, and we let them tell their own stories. And I can share with you that for this project, the A-list of the actresses in Israel took part in this amazing project. And then we present it in the main ceremony of the March of the Living in Auschwitz in this April. And we present it in front of the world leaders. And I think even more important, young adults from all over the world.
I mean, basically, it's a completely different way of bringing history to life. I mean, if I think about studying textbooks in school, already that was, rich. But I think with this kind of a tool, you can make education even richer and make sure that, such important events are not forgotten. Unfortunately, in the last years, we've learned how short-lived our memory can be and how we see things starting to repeat themselves, which we all hoped they never would. So I think keeping history alive and doing that in a compelling way is very, very valuable.
Especially when the survivor generation is not with us.
Yes, it definitely they will disappear and then lose those voices, and keeping them alive and bring them back to life is definitely valuable. Another use case I wanted to talk to you about is a project that you worked on, I believe, in collaboration with the UN and Microsoft. Do you want to talk about the Sophia Project with us?
The Sophia Project is very, very unique. We build a consortium together with Microsoft, the UN Women, and an organization named Spring Act. And we animated the chatbot named Sophia that developed by Spring App. So now we created a human-like experience that can, this chatbot, by the way, is for people suffering from abuse all around the world. It's a global chatbot. So no matter wherever you are, you can chat with this chatbot in your own language and get support. So we give it another level. We make it much better experience for the user and make it more accessible even to people with a lower literacy level. And we did it, we animated the chatbot in the UN languages and also Swahili and Ukrainian to make it more accessible to also people, refugees and people in the risk situations. And this chatbot is very, very important because the information it can provide to people, it can save lives. And we make it more accessible and we make it more, the experience to be more engaging.
And this is now specifically, if I understand, for cases of violence or domestic abuse. Is that correct?
Domestic abuse.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we found out, the domestic abuse, domestic violence, it's a worldwide pandemic. So it's not only here in Israel, not only in Switzerland, not only in New York, it's also in Japan and in Germany, and it's also in Peru and other Latin American countries. And there are many things that are very similar. They're a bit different in culture and stuff, but it's a lot of similarity. And this is why we can make this information to be relevant to everyone all over the world.
Okay. That's fascinating. I mean, I believe, especially during the pandemic and lockdown, actually domestic violence statistics increased sometimes drastically. And being able to offer help and support, to someone in such a situation, like you said, can save lives. So I understand how that can be used now in these individual cases to bring help and advice and support. But can it also be used preemptively? So are we able to learn more about domestic violence patterns, and can we then maybe start to use that information to educate and to ultimately prevent violence? And if yes, how is that being done?
Yes, it's exactly what it is. So if you are specifically suffering from domestic abuse, you can use this chatbot to learn about your situation. Also, people that think or suspect that is close friend or sister, or other family member also suffering from abuse can get information from this chatbot. And there is another service. You can keep your digital evidence in this platform, in a digital safe.
Okay, that's impressive. But then is the UN analyzing then the usage also? Obviously anonymously, but trying to learn more about patterns in domestic violence, or is it really just user facing and there's no aggregation of data on a higher level?
So you can reach your own digital evidence or your own data, but this data, of course, it's encrypted. Yeah. No one can reach out to this data.
Okay.
Both of your chat and also the digital evidence.
Okay. And I guess in terms of forming trust, that's obviously very important for the people using it.
Yes.
Okay. Well, here we're really talking, about a personal assistant for some of the most maybe intimate areas of life. And I guess we can imagine how such assistance could be used in other areas. Do you have any other projects you're working on? You mentioned that this Sophia chatbot is also available, for example, in the Ukraine. And now in the Ukraine, we have, of course, many people suffering under all kinds of effects through the war. Either they're displaced or they're under severe stress due to the situation. Any other use cases that you're personally involved with? How you can do good in such areas.
So it's a very interesting question, because usually we don't have, when we did the animation of Sophia Chatbot, we consider this to be, a global chatbot, and it's developed by the organization named Spring Act. They developed it. And if you have a partner in each country, so they can give more dedicated and local information. So, for example, if they have the chatbot have partner in Ukraine, so it can give some more specific information about the rights, for example, or specific organizations that can give you support, depend of your whatever you are in Ukraine, for example, like more tailor-made and more relevant information. So each time we have a partner for the Sophia, so we can give an extra information, more relevant information. So it can be very effective in area like Ukraine. And also we use the specific language Ukraine as we want to make it more accessible to people in Ukraine.
Okay. Do you also change the appearance of the chatbot? Do you have a more Asian-looking chatbot in Asia? More Caucasian in Europe?
Yeah, I'm so happy that you have this question. The answer is yes. Yes. Because, like people in Ukraine feel more comfortable to talk in someone that look like them. And people in Africa, it's relevant. This diversity and inclusion that's also relevant in this kind of use case.
No, for sure. For sure. I mean, today we can even define the skin color of our emojis, right? So that's how
yes.
Is.
Yeah.
Great.
So much true.
No, I mean, look, the really fascinating topic. And again, it's just, mind blowing to think about where else such technology can really be used to have this positive impact. Maybe just taking a bit of a step back. I've always been very impressed with the energy in Israel. And I think, Israel as a startup nation is now a really, internationally known phenomenon, also due to very effective marketing, let's say. But it is, by all means, and also by all, let's say, measurable KPIs, one of the leading startup ecosystems in the world. And if you just maybe share with our listeners a bit your view on that ecosystem, because you've been part of that for a long time, and why do you think, from your point of view, that Israel is so successful in this area?
I think, first of all, our culture, we are not by mistake a startup nation. It started in our culture. Everyone want to be here entrepreneur. So it's not a doctor, it's not a lawyer, it's just entrepreneur. And also part of our culture, we have our chutzpah. We are not afraid, to talk to people, to be more aggressive sometimes. We are polite, but still a bit aggressive. And I think it's very, very helpful when you are entrepreneur in those kind of fields. And of course, we are not afraid to fail. Like, we know how to take risks. And, in other cultures, when you are failed, so it's very difficult for you to handle this in front of your families and friends. But here, we are not afraid. It's okay. It's part of the culture. And of course, we have the military service here in Israel, that everyone from the age of 18 have to go and serve in the army. And a lot of the progress in the AI technology is coming from the military service, where we are using more advanced technologies and new approaches. So we have many people in Israel have access to this kind of technology from very young age. And of course, academia, it's very, very supportive as well. And I think also from the government, it gave us a lot of tools, network, and support and investment as well. So this is very, very, it's kind of ecosystem. We build the ecosystem and we are very supportive to each other. And a lot of multinational companies, R&D, are in Israel, and the military service and the government support. So I think this ecosystem what makes us to flourish.
Yeah, no, it's really something that if you visit Tel Aviv, it just is impressive to see that and feel that dynamism, to feel that energy. And I think at the core, you're basically saying it originates from a certain culture and from a certain mindset, right? And then there's obviously other factors around it that have really, kind of built this ecosystem. But I ask you specifically because, our organization has a large footprint in Central Europe. And these are precisely cultures where, for example, making mistakes and failing is considered as something absolutely critical and kind of a long-lasting stain or blemish. Whereas in other successful startup cultures, everyone understands that if you haven't failed a few times, you're definitely doing something wrong, because you're either not taking the risk that is necessary to be successful, or you've just been too lucky, and at one point you will make a mistake. And I think learning from mistakes, that's something also a large organization needs to embrace if it really wants to develop and flourish. So I hope we can take a bit of that mindset on board. On the other hand, we also know that these, deeply rooted cultural things are the most difficult things to change, right? That's kind of, that takes the most work and the most time to change. So definitely, I think for Europe, challenging times ahead. And we also don't see much happening on this front, technological front, AI, et cetera, in these markets. So, for example, in Germany, it's pretty thin in terms of significant developments in AI. Another maybe aspect that becomes apparent if you look at the startup ecosystems in Europe or in Germany is also the fact that it's very non-diverse, so very few female founders. And I know you're also engaged in a network that's trying to support female founders. So maybe first of all, I met many women in Israel that were in tech and that were entrepreneurial. I can't say if I met as many women as men, but, it's definitely not a huge disparity. So tell us a bit about, a few founders in Israel and what are you doing to support them?
So, as I mentioned, we are a startup nation, but still women are not represented in the startup nation, same as men. And even I think the situation could be much worse than in Europe. We are talking about 10% women founders.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. And there are many reasons for that. One of them is the lack of technical skills. For example, in the army, in the academia, there are more men at a part of the tech session or tech or the tech in the military service as well sections. And also we are lack with a network and lack with access to investment. So bring this all together. Women are pretty outside the cycle of the startup nation. There are many female founders, entrepreneurs that are very talented. They are existed, but still we are talking about 10%.
Wow.
The numbers are very, very low. And what we did, I was managing director in an organization named Yazamiyot. In Hebrew, it's female founders. And we assist them. We collaborate with the leading tech companies and Microsoft and Google, venture capitals and other even global organizations as well. And we assist them in giving them knowledge and network, and we assist them to get investment as well. But there is a lot of things to do, and we are still in the beginning of this process.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't aware. Again, maybe I was lucky. I got to meet quite a few female founders and also females, for example, in venture capital, females also in the kind of, innovation hub industry, working for large corporations. So great to see that you're doing something to increase diversity there as well. Sharan, I'm a bit mindful of your time now, but before we wrap it up, I'm really interested in what's your next big project, assuming that you're allowed or able to share something. What's next on your agenda of having a positive impact with technology and AI?
So I gave you some hints before, but as I mentioned, I'm very missionary in my proactive approach for leveraging generative AI for good. And now I'm working on a global initiative to bring together all the world leaders in that field, companies like Microsoft, OpenAI, NVIDIA, and others, together with international organizations like the UN and others, to bring them all together and encourage people around the world to use proactively this amazing technology for good, to do an annual event that's featuring the leading project that's based on the generative AI and a major impact as well. So this is my main mission.
Okay, definitely something to look forward to. So if people follow you on, I don't know, maybe LinkedIn, for example, they will then hear or see what you're working on at some point in the future.
And just I want to say that everyone can use this amazing technology, whatever you're entrepreneur, creator, a non-profit organization, and even a multinational company as well. Everyone can do it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, really exciting times. So much to look forward to. And yes, there are always risks and downsides, but those we need to manage and focus really on the benefits, the advantages, the increase in quality of life that these technologies can bring. And that's also what we're trying to do as a corporate venture builder in a small way. We're also trying to bring projects and ventures into the world that hopefully have a positive impact on people who come in touch with what we do. Well, Shiran, thank you very much. It was great speaking with you, and it was also great to see what you've been doing, to hear about what you've been doing, and to share that with our audience. So thank you very much, and I'll be keeping an eye on what you're up to going forward.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. Thank you.